I still remember the first week I moved into that small college neighborhood in Arizona. The heat was sharp, the air dry, and the evenings strangely quiet. Nothing like the crowded streets I had grown up around. The houses were close enough that you could hear when your neighbor's screen door opened, but far apart enough that people mostly kept to themselves. Except him, the boy next door. I first saw him when I was dragging my suitcase up the cracked driveway of my rented studio. He was leaning on the fence between our houses, sipping from a cold can of soda, the sun behind him turning his hair almost golden. He looked like the type of boy who belonged in every group photo. Confident, loud-laughing, effortlessly liked. The kind of boy I was always drawn to but never expected to get close to. He lifted his chin at me. "You new around here?" The way he said "here" made it sound like he owned the whole neighborhood. I nodded. "Yeah, just moved in for college." "Cool," he said, smiling, still sipping his drink. "I'm next door." "Names?" He paused, letting the moment stretch like he wanted me to look at him a little longer. "Well, call me whatever you want. Everyone does." I laughed, even though nothing was actually funny. Something about his presence made me feel lighter, nervous, excited, like the way your stomach flips before a roller coaster drops. He pushed open the gate and held my suitcase handle. "Come on, I'll help you set up." And just like that, he was inside my space, inside my day, inside something I didn't yet understand. We arranged my books, opened the windows, fixed the loose bulb in the bathroom. He wandered through my room as if he'd been there 1,000 times. By the time we were done, the sun had set and the shadows stretched across the floor like soft waves. He threw himself onto my bed like he owned it. "You're cool," he told me, stretching his arms behind his head. "We should hang out." My stupid heart latched onto that sentence like it was a promise. From that day onward, we were neighbors only by address, friends in every other way. At least that's what I believed. We started eating together, grabbing burgers from the diner near campus, sitting at the back booth with the neon light flickering over us. He talked about everything and nothing, old friends, video games, the annoying teacher he once had. I talked less, listened more, wondered how someone like him didn't already have 100 friends to hang out with. The more time I spent with him, the more I felt myself slipping, softly, quietly, into something deeper. The way he tossed his hair back when he laughed, the way he nudged my shoulder when he wanted my attention, the way he called my name like he'd been saying it forever. I tried to ignore how it made me feel. He was straight, or at least that's what I assumed. America may be open, but people weren't always. So I kept things simple, safe, friendly, until he slowly started adding conditions. Small at first. "Hey, can you grab me that drink? I forgot my wallet. Can we take your car? Mine needs gas. I'm starving. Can you get this one? I'll get the next." The next never came. Then bigger things. "My phone broke. Can you help me out with a few bucks? I'll pay you back soon, promise. I really want those shoes. Lend me something just this once?" It didn't sound like begging. It sounded like expectation. And somehow I kept saying yes. Part of me didn't want to disappoint him. Part of me was scared that if I said no, he would stop coming around. Somewhere in the middle of all that, our closeness grew into something that felt almost intimate. Not openly, not clearly, but subtly. Late-night movie marathons where he would fall asleep with his head on my shoulder. Long afternoons where he'd lie across my bed while scrolling through his phone. Moments where our legs brushed, our hands touched accidentally, and I pretended it meant nothing. One night, the air was unusually cold, and my heater refused to work. He stopped by, saw the blanket wrapped around my shoulders, and said, "Just sleep over at my place. My room's warm." He didn't ask. He told. So I went. Nothing happened, nothing that would cross YouTube lines anyway. But he slept close, closer than any friend usually would. The glow from the street lamp came through his window, making everything look softer. At one point, he turned in his sleep and his hand brushed mine. I didn't move away. "Man, you're comfortable," he mumbled half asleep, and rested his arm lightly against me. I thought my heart would burst. For a few weeks, I lived in that space, half friendship, half dream, fully confusing. He took more emotionally and financially, and I gave more, convincing myself that this was what friendship meant. That he appreciated me. That he cared in his own way. But cracks began to show. When I asked him if he wanted to join me for something that didn't benefit him, like studying together, helping me pick up groceries, walking to campus early, he always refused. I'm tired. Got plans. Maybe next time. The only time he said yes was when it benefited him. Still, I stayed quiet. Still, I stayed hopeful. Still, I stayed foolish. One afternoon, we were eating tacos from a food truck near the college lawns. I was paying again. He looked around lazily and said, "You know, we should hang out more. But you should also loosen up, man. Stop being so serious." "I'm not serious," I said softly. "You are," he said, pointing his taco at me. "Like you think too much. Just chill. Be fun. People like that. People. Not him. Not me. Just people." It stung more than it should have. A few days later, I realized he never invited me to his house unless he wanted something. He never messaged first unless he needed help. He never asked if I was okay, even when I clearly wasn't. But I still told myself it's okay. He's my friend. He'll change with time. Then came the first real turning point. We were sitting on my porch one warm American evening, cicadas buzzing in the background. The night felt calm, almost peaceful. He leaned back in the chair, stretched his legs out and said, "Hey, can you get me that cologne from the mall? The one I liked last time." I blinked. "It's expensive." He shrugged. "Yeah, but you're my friend, right?" Something in his tone, careless, expectant, almost entitled, hit me differently this time. I tried to smile, but it felt tight. "That's not how friendship works," I said quietly. He scoffed. "Relax. Why are you being weird today?" Maybe it was the heat, maybe it was exhaustion, maybe it was my heart finally cracking under the weight of pretending. But something inside me shifted. Still, I didn't argue. I didn't fight back. I didn't walk away. I wish I had. Because the storm that was coming, I didn't see it then, but I felt the first drop. He patted my knee casually, almost dismissively, and said, "You're lucky, you know. I actually like hanging out with you. Most people don't get that chance." It was the first time I realized that sometimes the person you fall for only falls for what you can give. I looked at him, the boy I had trusted, admired, maybe even loved in my own quiet way, and I finally saw the truth he had been hiding behind that easy smile. He didn't want me. He wanted the comfort I provided, the attention, the money, the convenience. And somewhere inside me, a small voice whispered, "This isn't friendship." But I ignored it, because I wasn't ready to lose him. Not yet. I didn't know then that this was only the beginning. The real heartbreak was still waiting ahead. I met him on a day when I wasn't looking for anything new. Classes had just started. The Arizona sun was still unforgiving, and I'd been drained from dealing with my neighbor friend's constant demands. My mind felt heavy, and my chest carried that silent ache. The kind you ignore because you're scared of what it might turn into if you let it speak. I was sitting in the campus courtyard, trying to finish a sandwich before my next lecture, when someone dropped their drink right beside me. A splash of cold iced tea hit my ankle. "Oh shoot, sorry. I'm so sorry," a voice said, rushing to pick up the fallen cup. I looked up, expecting annoyance, but instead, there he was. A boy with warm eyes, messy dark hair, and a kind of softness that made people instantly comfortable. He looked genuinely worried, not embarrassed. Like the idea of inconveniencing anyone actually mattered to him. I shook my foot a little and laughed. "It's okay. Arizona's hot, free cooling system." He laughed too. Such an easy, natural sound, and I felt something shift in my mood, like a window opening on a suffocating day. "I'm Liam," he said, holding out his hand. I told him my name, and he sat down beside me without asking, which usually would annoy me. But with him, it felt natural, like he belonged in the empty spot beside me. "You new here?" he asked. "Yeah," I nodded. "Just moved into a place near campus." "No wonder I haven't seen you around," he said. I would have remembered. The way he said it, gentle, genuine. made something warm flutter in my chest. There was no game in his tone. No angle. Just a boy being honest. We talked through my entire break. About classes. About living alone. About the ridiculous cafeteria prices. About nothing and everything. When he laughed, he tilted his head slightly. When he listened, he leaned forward like he wanted to catch every word. It wasn't flirting, just sincerity. Something I hadn't felt in weeks. When my alarm went off for my lecture, he stood up with me. "Walk you there?" he asked. I didn't even think before nodding. Over the next week, we became friends in the most effortless way possible. Every morning, he'd tap my shoulder in the hallway and fall into step beside me. Every afternoon, we'd share the small table in the library, books spread everywhere. He liked studying with music. I liked the quiet. Somehow, we made it work. He'd show up with an extra soda for me. I'd save him a seat in lecture hall. He'd lend me his notes when I zoned out. I'd help him with assignments late at night over video call. None of it felt heavy or expected. Nothing felt like a transaction. His presence didn't drain me. It grounded me. And something about that scared me a little, because it felt like the kind of bond that grows roots. Eventually, I introduced him to my neighbor friend, the one who had wrapped himself tightly around my attention for weeks. It felt strange bringing them together, like I was mixing two different worlds. Part of me hoped they'd get along. Another part hoped they wouldn't. We met all three one afternoon after class. My neighbor arrived late, chewing gum, walking with that overconfident swagger he always carried. "This him?" he asked, glancing at Liam from head to toe. "Yeah," I said. "This is my friend." He raised an eyebrow at the word friend, almost like he didn't want anyone else taking that space in my life. Liam smiled warmly. "Nice to meet you, man." My neighbor only gave a half nod. From the beginning, something in the air felt off. While Liam talked, my neighbor kept interrupting. When we started walking, he pushed himself between us. When Liam laughed at a joke I made, my neighbor's jaw tightened. It was subtle, but it was jealousy. Not the sweet kind that shows someone cares. The bitter kind that shows someone is afraid of losing control. Still, the three of us tried to hang out. We grabbed snacks, walked around campus, talked about random things. But there was tension, thin as a wire and just as sharp. Afterward, when Liam left for his part-time shift at the bookstore, my neighbor turned to me. "You getting close to him, huh?" I shrugged. "Yeah, he's nice." My neighbor scoffed. "He's too nice. Fake nice." "He's not fake," I said quietly. He smirked, leaning back. "You don't know people like I do." I stayed quiet because arguing with him usually led nowhere. Still, something inside me felt uneasy. The next few days made the tension worse. Started small. When I laughed at something Liam said, my neighbor got irritated. When I made plans with Liam, he suddenly had urgent things he needed me for. When I studied with Liam, my neighbor blew up my phone with messages like, "Where are you? You forget I exist or what? Come to my place now." Liam didn't say anything at first, but he noticed. One afternoon in the library, he glanced at my phone, saw the message pop up, and frowned. "Your friend texts you a lot." "Yeah, he's just used to me being around," I explained. Liam looked at me for a long second, then softly said, "Used to you? Or using you?" The words hit deeper than he knew. I swallowed. "It's complicated." He nodded like he understood, not questioning, not pushing, but caring in a way that made me feel seen in a way I hadn't felt in a long time. But my growing bond with Liam didn't go unnoticed. One day after class, the three of us ended up walking together again. Liam was telling me a funny story from his shift, about an elderly man who got locked inside the manga aisle, and I was laughing harder than I had in days. Then my neighbor moved closer, too close, bumping Liam's shoulder deliberately. "Watch it," he snapped. Liam blinked. "It was an accident. Chill." My neighbor stepped forward. "You calling me uptight?" "Hey, stop," I said quickly, stepping between them. Liam held his hands up. "Man, relax. I'm not trying to start anything." But my neighbor wasn't listening. His eyes were burning with something dark, an ugly jealousy boiling under his skin. I felt embarrassed, angry, sad, all at once. "Let's go," I told Liam quietly. "He's not in a good mood." But before we could leave, my neighbor said something that made my stomach twist. "Why are you always with him anyway? Since when do you need anyone else?" The silence that followed was suffocating. Liam looked at me. I looked at the ground. My neighbor looked proud of himself. I muttered something about having homework and walked off. Liam followed after a moment, though he looked shaken. We didn't talk much that day. My neighbor stormed back home, and something between us, all three of us, shifted. A week later, everything exploded. Liam and I were sitting under the old oak tree near campus, sharing fries from a paper tray, when he finally asked, "Why do you let him talk to you like that?" The softness in his voice made it worse, because it wasn't judgment. It was concern. "I don't know," I whispered. "Maybe I'm scared of losing him." Liam tilted his head, studying me. "But is he scared of losing you?" My chest tightened. The answer was obvious, painfully obvious. Still, I didn't speak. He reached out and gently nudged my arm. "You deserve better friends than that." The words, they felt like sunlight on a wound. Kind, warm, healing. For a second, I let myself wonder, just wonder, if things could be different. If someone like Liam could actually want me around because of who I was, not what I could offer. That small hope surprised me, scared me, but it also felt honest. Yet the real storm hit when my neighbor realized he was losing control. He started acting sweeter, fake sweet, offering to hang out more, pretending to be supportive, all while glaring whenever Liam appeared. And then the jealousy turned into strategy. He began lying about Liam, twisting words, planting doubts, making it seem like he cared about protecting me, when in truth he was protecting his power over me. And I, naive, hopeful, didn't see it coming. Not until it was too late. Because soon, he would do something that would finally snap the last thread holding our friendship together. And it would change everything between all three of us. The distance between us didn't happen in one moment. It happened slowly in ways I kept trying to ignore. Little comments, weird silences, that uneasy shift in how he looked at me whenever Ryan texted me. I told myself I was imagining it, that I was overthinking like always. But the truth was already sneaking into the spaces between us. It was late October when everything finally snapped. The day had started normal enough. I'd woken up to the kind of cold California morning where the air carried that slight bite, but the sun still fought to keep things warm. I remember staring at my phone, seeing nothing from him, and feeling that familiar twist of confusion. We talked every day for months. Even on the days he said he was busy, he would at least send a single message. That morning, nothing. I told myself it was fine. People get busy. Not everything is about me. Still, something felt wrong. When I got to campus, Ryan was already waiting for me outside the student center. He had a coffee in each hand, and that bright, uncomplicated smile that always made me relax. "There you are," he said, handing me one. "You're late." "I know. Sorry. Didn't sleep much." "You okay?" I wanted to say yes, but the truth was spilling into my voice before I could stop it. "I think something's off with him." Ryan's expression didn't change in the dramatic way I expected. He didn't gasp or look shocked. Instead, he just nodded slowly, like he'd already been thinking the same thing. "You want to talk about it?" he asked softly. For a moment, I thought maybe I did. Maybe I'd pour every doubt into his hands and let him help me sort through the mess. But then I saw something flicker across his face. Something I couldn't name. Not pity. Not sympathy. Something else. Possession? Jealousy? Or maybe I was projecting again. Before I could figure it out, my phone buzzed. "We need to talk." My stomach dropped. Those 4 words always meant something bad. Ryan glanced at my screen. His brows pulled together, barely noticeable but enough for me to catch. "You want me to come with you?" he asked. "No. I think I need to handle this." He didn't argue. He just squeezed my shoulder and walked away, although something in his eyes stuck with me long after he disappeared into the building. I found him, the boy I'd been closest to, the one I'd trusted too much. Standing behind the library, where it was quiet and the tall walls blocked most of the noise from campus. It was our spot. The place where we'd shared secrets, dreams, jokes, everything. Now it felt unfamiliar. He didn't smile when he saw me. His jaw was tight, and his hands were shoved deep into the pockets of his hoodie. A sign he was angry, or scared, or both. "What's wrong?" I asked. He didn't answer right away. He paced once, twice, then finally stopped in front of me, his eyes sharp and cold in a way I'd never seen before. "You've changed," he said. "Since he showed up." The word he hit me like ice water. "Ryan?" I asked, although I already knew. He scoffed. "Of course Ryan. Who else? You're always with him now. You cancel on me. You ignore me. You're different." "I'm not ignoring you," I said. "Look at my phone. I've texted you every day." "Exactly," he snapped. "You're always texting me, not seeing me, not being with me, not choosing me." The last two words landed heavy. Choosing you?" I repeated. "You're my best friend. What does choosing have to do with anything?" He looked at me like I was the one being unreasonable. "You know what I mean." "I really don't." Another scoff. "Yes, you do. He likes you, obviously, and you like the attention. And you let him get between us because you love feeling wanted." I froze. "Is that really what you think of me?" I whispered. "Yes," he said without hesitation. "Because you didn't deny it." My chest ti. "I didn't deny it because I was shocked you'd think something like that." He threw his hands up. "You're so dramatic." "Fine. Whatever. You want honesty? Here's honesty. I don't trust him. And I hate what he's turning you into." "What he's turning me into?" I repeated. "He's the only one who hasn't tried to control me. You're the one telling me who I can and can't be friends with." That one landed hard. He stepped back, breathing fast, eyes glossy with rage he didn't want me to see. "So that's how it is," he muttered. "It's my fault. Always my fault." "It's not about fault." "No, it is," he said. "And you've picked your side." I felt the ground tilt under me. "I'm not choosing sides between the two most important people to me." "You already did," he said. "A long time ago." Before I could respond, he pulled something from his pocket. His phone. Thumb shaking as he unlocked it. "Fine. You want the truth," he said. "Here." He shoved the screen toward me. It was a screenshot. A message thread. My messages. Except, not exactly. There were lines I had written, but mixed with sentences I'd never sent. Words twisted. Context removed. Sentences rearranged to make me look desperate, clingy, obsessed, needy. And at the top, contact name, Ryan. My stomach twisted violently. "What is this?" "This," he said, voice trembling, "is what he showed me. Proof of what you've been saying behind my back." "I never wrote half of that," I said. "These aren't real." He looked at me with a mixture of anger and heartbreak so sharp it almost stole my breath. "Why would he lie?" he asked. "Why would he do something like that?" "Because he wanted me closer. Because he wanted you away. Because he's jealous. Because he loves me. Because I didn't see it." 100 answers crashed into me, but none of them made it out of my mouth. "I don't know," I whispered. "But I swear on everything, I didn't say these things." He shook his head slowly, like his decision had already been made long before this moment. "I can't do this anymore," he said quietly. "I can't be around you if you're choosing people who manipulate and use you. If you're choosing him." "I'm choosing truth," I said. "And the truth is he lied to you." He didn't react. He just closed his phone, stuffed it in his pocket, and stepped back. "This is the break," he said. "The moment things end before they get worse." My throat burned. "Please don't do this," I said. "Talk to me. Look at me. You know me." "I thought I did." He turned, walked away, didn't look back. I stood there shaking, the October cold finally sinking through my clothes, through my skin, through everything. The place that had always felt safe suddenly felt like a crime scene. One where I didn't know if I was the victim or the one being punished. When I finally moved, it was only because my phone buzzed again. Ryan, did he talk to you? I stared at the message, suddenly seeing his earlier concern through a different lens. His softness, his timing, his questions, his expression when he saw the text that morning. He hadn't been surprised. He had been waiting, and the truth hit me like a punch. He wanted this break. He orchestrated it. He pushed for it. He wanted me alone with him. My hands trembled as I typed. Why did you show him fake messages? The 3 dots appeared. Stopped. Appeared again. Finally a reply. Ryan, because I'm tired of sharing you. The world tilted again. A different kind of shock, sharp and intimate. A confession. A manipulation. A betrayal twisted with longing. And the worst part? Part of me wasn't even sure which one hurt more. I didn't reply to Ryan. Not right away. His message stared back at me like a confession written in the wrong moment, with the wrong intentions. Because I'm tired of sharing you. It played on a loop in my head, twisting and turning through every memory I had of him. Every smile, every laugh, every soft look I'd brushed off as friendliness. By the time I reached my dorm, my chest hurt. A tight, sharp ache that made it hard to breathe. I tossed my bag to the floor and sat on the edge of my bed, hands shaking as I replayed the conversation behind the library wall. The anger, the heartbreak, the disbelief in his eyes. The boy I trusted more than anyone. I wanted to text him, to call him, to tell him I wasn't giving up on him. But I also knew that nothing I said right now would reach him. Not when he believed Ryan's twisted version of me. So I did the only thing I could. I went quiet. Hours passed. Evening crept in. The warm campus lights outside my dorm window blurred through the glass, soft and golden. Students walked past in pairs and groups, laughing, arguing, living lives that felt so painfully normal compared to the chaos in my chest. When my phone buzzed again, my heart jumped even before I checked the screen. It wasn't Ryan. It wasn't him. It was someone I hadn't expected. Aiden. Hey, are you in your room? Aiden was the one person in our group who never took sides. Quiet, observant, the kind of friend who noticed small things, the way you tugged your sleeves when you were anxious, or how your voice changed when something was bothering you. He wasn't close to me the way the other 2 were, but he had always been steady. Solid. Me, yeah. Why? Aiden. Can I come over? Something you need to know. My throat tightened. Me, yeah. Doors open. When he walked in, he didn't smile. His black hoodie was half-zipped, curls messy like he'd run his hands through them too many times. He shut the door behind him gently, too gently, and then sat beside me without waiting for an invitation. For a long second, he didn't speak. Then, I saw what happened today. My chest tightened. Everyone probably did. He shook his head. No. I saw what caused it. I slowly turned toward him. What do you mean? He pulled his phone from his pocket, breath shaking. I wasn't trying to snoop, I swear. I went to the media lab after class and I saw Ryan there. He was editing screenshots, text messages. My pulse stopped. Aiden swallowed. Your messages. The room tilted slightly. He didn't know I was behind him, Aiden continued. He was copying parts of your real texts and then typing other parts in, making sentences you never wrote. Then he saved them as screenshots. I exhaled shakily, the truth hitting me in a wave so fast it made me dizzy. Aiden looked at me carefully. You didn't say any of those things, did you? No, I whispered. I didn't. His shoulders dropped, like he'd been praying to hear those words. I thought so, he said, voice softening. It didn't sound like you, not even a little. The relief mixed with another feeling, a warm, unexpected gratitude that lodged in my chest. Aiden saw me, really saw me, more clearly than the boy I'd trusted with everything. What did he do with the screenshots? I asked. He sent them, Aiden said. To him. He named my best friend. The one who no longer believed me. Anger flickered through me, sharp and electric. But underneath it was grief, the kind that made your lungs feel too small, your skin too tight. I need to show him the truth, I said. Aiden nodded. I already did. I froze. What? He breathed out slowly. Before coming here, I went to find him. He looked wrecked, like he'd been crying or trying not to. I told him everything I saw. I showed him the screen recordings I took. You recorded it? He nodded. I knew you'd need proof. My vision blurred for a moment. I blinked hard. Did he believe you? I asked. Aiden hesitated. I don't know. But he listened. I laughed softly, a broken sound. Listened is better than nothing. Yeah. The room fell quiet. Outside, someone shouted across the quad, and a burst of laughter followed. Life kept going, loud and careless, even while my world felt cracked and fragile. Aiden shifted slightly, turning toward me. He cares about you, he said gently. You know that. The words hit too close. I thought he did, I whispered. But he didn't trust me. He trusted someone who sounded more certain, Aiden said. That's not your fault. I looked down at my hands. My fingers were trembling. Aiden noticed. Without saying anything, he reached out and placed his hand lightly over mine. Not romantic, not flirty, just warm, steady, grounding. It sent a small shock through me. Not of attraction, but of feeling safe for the first time all day. You're not alone in this, he said quietly. For a moment, I just let myself breathe with his hand on mine. Let myself exist in the silence without falling apart. Then there was a knock on my door. I looked up sharply, breath-catching. Aiden's eyes met mine. It's him. My heart stopped. Everything inside me tangled: relief, fear, longing, anger, all mixing into something thick and overwhelming. I stood slowly. My legs felt unsteady, like I wasn't sure they'd hold me. When I opened the door, he was standing there. Eyes red, hair messy, hoodie half-zipped like he'd rushed here. He didn't look angry anymore. He looked broken, like someone who'd been holding everything in for too long. His voice cracked so softly I almost didn't hear it. Can we talk? I stepped aside. He walked in without looking at Aiden, but he didn't tell him to leave either, which meant he wasn't here to scream or accuse. He was here because he needed to be. He stood in the middle of the room, arms crossed over his chest like he was holding himself together. I saw the video, he said, barely above a whisper. Aiden showed me. I nodded. I'm sorry, he said. I'm so sorry. Hearing it hurt more than the accusations earlier. You didn't trust me, I said. You believed someone else over me. He winced like I'd hit him. I know, and I shouldn't have. I was scared. Of what? He lifted his eyes, and the answer shattered me. Of losing you. My breath caught. I thought you were slipping away, he whispered. Every day it felt like you were choosing him. Not because you wanted to, but because you were happy with him in ways you weren't with me. I was trying to give you space, I said. You kept pushing me away. Because it hurt, he said. Every time you smiled at him. Every time he made you laugh. I hated it. I hated knowing he saw parts of you I missed. The rawness in his voice stole the ground beneath me. You should have talked to me, I said. I know, he whispered. I know. I messed up. I let jealousy decide for me. And he manipulated both of us. He nodded, jaw clenched. Yeah, he did. The room felt heavy. Too full of things we'd never said before. Too full of things we'd both been afraid to admit. Aiden stood quietly, giving us space without leaving. After a long moment he spoke, softly, like offering a truth I wasn't ready to hear. You two can fix this. I've seen people fall apart for less. And you guys, you were real. You still are. The boy I'd loved, the friend who broke me hours ago, looked up at me with eyes that held apology, longing, regret, and something I couldn't name yet. Something warm, something dangerous, something still alive. Can you trust me again? He whispered. I swallowed hard. I want to, I said. But trust isn't words. It's actions. He nodded slowly. Then let me prove it. Silence settled between us. Not cold, not hostile. Something else. Something that felt like the first fragile step toward healing. Aiden stepped away from us, giving us space without making it obvious. And for the first time today, I felt the ground beneath me steady. Not because everything was fixed, but because the truth was finally out and the walls between us were starting to crack open. The betrayal wasn't gone. The wounds weren't healed, but the pieces of us were still there, waiting to be rebuilt. The days after everything came out felt strangely quiet. Not empty, not heavy, just quiet in a way I hadn't realized I'd been craving. For the first time in weeks, no one was trying to pull me aside, twist my words, or use my feelings like weapons. The noise had finally settled, leaving room to breathe again. After that night in my dorm room, the apology, the shaky truths, the soft confessions neither of us had planned to say, he didn't try to rush things. He didn't demand forgiveness or act like one conversation had erased the damage. Instead, he gave me space. Real space. The kind that wasn't hollow or cold but respectful, careful, and strangely warm. And Aiden, he stayed close too. Not interfering, not pushing, just present. Like he'd quietly taken it upon himself to make sure neither of us slipped back into the storm we just crawled out of. Our trio, once messy and fractured, slowly started to find a new rhythm, a safer one, calmer one. On a cool Friday evening, 3 days after everything fell apart and then somehow started to come together again, he stopped by my dorm again. This time, he didn't knock like someone afraid of being turned away. He knocked like he hoped I'd open, but would respect it if I didn't. I opened the door. He'd changed. Not in the way he dressed. Still hoodie, still jeans, still messy hair like he'd run his hands through it on the way here. But in his expression, it wasn't guarded anymore. It wasn't desperate either. It was honest. "Hey," he said softly. "Hey." A beat of silence passed before he held up a small box. "I brought food. Thought maybe we could eat together. No pressure." I stepped aside. "Come in." He smiled, small, nervous, and entered. We sat on the floor, leaning against the bed, unpacking the takeout containers. The smell of warm rice and grilled chicken filled the room. He handed me a fork without looking directly at me. "So," he started, then stopped, clearing his throat. "I talked to him." I swallowed. "Ryan." "Yeah." He hesitated. It wasn't a fight. I didn't yell. I didn't blame him for every problem in the world. I just told him it's over. The friendship, the games, everything. What did he say? That I'd regret it. He shrugged. "Maybe I will, but I'm pretty sure I won't." His eyes met mine then, for the first time since he'd walked in. "Some people aren't meant to stay," he said quietly. "And some people you can't afford to lose." The words hit somewhere deep, somewhere old, somewhere I tried to bury because wanting too much from him had already hurt once. "You didn't lose me?" I said, voice softer than I meant. "You say that," he whispered. "But losing trust is its own kind of losing, and I let that happen." He took a breath, hands tightening around the fork. "I want to earn it back," he said. "Not in some grand gesture way. Not by begging you to forget everything. Just little by little. However long it takes." It felt like the air shifted between us. Warmer, fuller. Something like hope curling between the words. "I'm not asking for anything from you," he added quickly. "Not a relationship. Not answers. Not promises. Just a chance to show you I'm better than the version of me you saw." I didn't respond right away. Healing wasn't instant. Trust wasn't automatic. But there was truth in his eyes. Raw, quiet truth. And it softened something inside me I'd thought was too bruised to feel anything. "You're trying," I finally said. "That matters." His shoulders relaxed, the tension easing like he'd been holding his breath for days. We ate for a while in silence, the good kind. The kind where nothing felt forced and every bite tasted like a small piece of normal returning. Halfway through the meal, he nudged my knee lightly with his. "I miss this," he said. "Just sitting with you. No drama. No second guessing." "I missed it too," I admitted. His lips lifted into a tiny smile, the kind I used to fall for without meaning to. Later, after the food was gone and the takeout boxes stacked neatly on my desk, we ended up sitting shoulder to shoulder against the wall. Not touching, not leaning. just sitting close enough that the warmth between us felt calming, not overwhelming. He let out a long breath. "I thought I'd lost you," he said. "You almost did." "I know." He turned his head slightly. "But you're still here. So are you." A quiet smile ghosted across his face. "Yeah." There were so many things I could have said then, so many emotions that had been sitting heavy in my chest for weeks. But instead of digging into all the pain, I chose the gentler truth. "We're both learning," I said. He nodded. "Yeah, and I want to keep learning. For us." The word "us" hung in the air like a fragile promise. Not romantic, not dramatic, just honest in a way that felt new and delicate. He hesitated. Then, "Can I ask you something? And you can say no." "Okay. Can we start again? Not from the beginning, but from where we should have started. As real friends. Without the jealousy. Without listening to other people. Without assuming the worst." I looked at him, really looked at him. The boy who'd broken my trust. The boy who'd apologized without excuses. The boy who'd chosen honesty now, even when lying would have been easier. "Yeah," I said quietly. "We can." He breathed out like I just freed him. "Good," he whispered. "Because I don't want to lose what we have. Whatever we are, whatever we become. I want it to be real." My throat tightened. Same. We didn't hug that night. There was no confession. No dramatic moment. No sudden shift into romance. Instead, he leaned his head lightly against the wall beside mine, just close enough that the warmth of him touched the side of my shoulder. It was nothing, and it was everything. A slow, steady rebuild. A new bond, not built on fear or jealousy, but understanding, quiet, patient, unshakable. When he stood to leave, he paused at the door. "I'll see you tomorrow?" "Yeah, tomorrow." He smiled, small, gentle, and walked out. I stayed where I was, back against the wall, heart steady in a way it hadn't been in weeks. The pain wasn't gone. The scars weren't healed. But the future didn't feel impossible anymore. It felt open, calm, quiet, like something worth walking toward, one careful step at a time. And for the first time, I wasn't walking alone. I trusted him, but he betrayed me. My original story. Part 1, Drama, Romance, and Secrets. Video description /CTA text. Asterisk, this is my original gay romance story. Set in the USA, about friendship, betrayal, and the journey of trust. In Part 1, secrets are revealed, feelings are tested, and relationships change forever. Broken heart, who do you trust when even your closest friend can deceive you? Fire, don't miss Part 2. The story continues with healing, new bonds, and emotional twists. Thumbs up like if you felt the emotions. Speech balloon comment which part shocked you the most. Bell subscribe for the next chapter. Asterisk.